Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to check out the DREAMERSPRO podcast that we have pinned below, so you can get today's full show before it comes out on YouTube. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. Right, yesterday there was a segment on ESPN First Take featuring Austin Rivers, Doc Rivers' son, and they were there essentially talking about, you know, who's the most influential player, who's the most influential NBA player right now. Right now, if you guys are aware, I believe that topic was prompted by a conversation that was had on the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron James and JJ Redick, where they were discussing the most influential players of all time. And essentially, LeBron said the following. He said, the most influential players that since I've been following the game, covering the game, he goes, Stephen Curry and Allen Iverson. And some people push back, including myself. I'm like, how do you leave out Jordan? How do you leave out the guy that influenced all of you guys, right? How do you leave out what he did for the brand of basketball globally, branding for individual athletes? Like, how do you leave him out? So when they brought up the question on the panel, the first person they actually allowed to speak was Austin Rivers. And as he was talking, something interesting happened. And it's something you don't see happen a lot. ESPN is known for controlling the message. Usually most people are going to say more or less the same thing or feel a particular way about a certain issue. And usually most of them are in lockstep. But you seldom hear somebody go on ESPN and speak candidly and give Kobe Bryant his props or give Michael Jordan his proper respect without it being some silly ass pushback on the show. So what happened? As they were talking, when it came time for Austin Rivers to react to what was being said, to my surprise, he said, you know, first of all, if you're not mentioning Michael Jordan in terms of overall he's like, there's nothing to discuss here, number one. But then he started getting into Kobe and the impact that he had on basketball and a lot of NBA players. And to be quite honest with you, I found a lot of what he was saying to be quite refreshing, if I'm being honest with you. But before we get into his comments, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select two or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting two entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And once again, once you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play what Austin Rivers had to say. I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety, and then we're going to come back and get into the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
And who do you think has had the biggest influence on the NBA today?
If we're talking about today, then Stephen Curry has to be that person. If we're talking historically, it starts and ends with Michael Jordan. I think we're quick to just forget about what he's done for the game. It was interesting to hear LeBron on that podcast with JJ talk about most influential and not name MJ, considering, you know, this guy still outsells anybody today in sneaker sales for a reason. He's the most iconic player to ever play the game. If you don't know this, go watch the Dream Team documentary and you can kind of get an idea of who this guy is and what he did for the game of basketball. So much so that a guy who's the lower and like version under him would be like a Kobe Bryant, right? He's like his little brother. That's a guy who influenced the game. When I look at Devin Booker, he has Be Legendary tattooed on him. I see Jason Tatum have a Kobe Bryant Mamba tattoo on him. We talk about Mamba mentality almost every week. These are guys who change the game. A lot of two guards emulate their game. Every good two guard we get in the NBA, we compare them to who? Kobe Bryant. He reminds me of Michael Jordan, of this, and that. That's who we compare Ant to, right? These are the guys who also pioneered the game and changed the game and had a huge influence. Now, we talk Stephen Curry. That's an impact on game in terms of playing style, three-pointers being shot. He's the greatest shooter of all time. He and Iverson are guys who are 6 foot, 6'2", if we're being generous. They're very obtainable to the eye. People look at those guys and say, man, I think I could do that. I think I could be that. If they could do it, I can do it. When you look at LeBron James and you look at Michael, these guys are 6'6", 6'7", freak of nature athletes, although Iverson was a freak athlete within himself, so I'm doing him a disservice there. But still, these guys, from a height standpoint, I think people saw that they could, do these things. I mean, Stephen A., I think you'd probably have to agree with me. I know you're a Michael guy, but him and Kobe, for me, are guys who are left out. Specifically Kobe. People always leave him out the mix. We always jump to AI because of his culture and him wearing the clothes he wears. And now we see Shea and Westbrook and all these guys do that. By the way, Adam Silver's name should be thrown in there because if David Stern, God bless his soul, was still around, we'd probably be still wearing suits to the game. I'm not even kidding. So there's a lot that goes to why we're at where we're at now. A lot of names in that hat. But playing style, culture are two different things. Iverson's more of a culture icon. Stephen Curry changed the way teams play. It's a copycat league. First, there was no room for bigs. Now suddenly we're seeing bigs. I watched the game the other night. I think it was the Cavs versus the Bulls. There was 4 centers on the court. So, now that the Nuggets are winning, now we're seeing teams put an emphasis on getting centers again. It's always going to be a copycat league, up and down. We were in an era where people were shooting too many threes. We got too many guys thinking they Stephen Curry and they're not. There's only one of those. He's definitely had an impact on the game. He's definitely up there on that list. I like LeBron throwing Steph on that list, but leaving Jordan out and Kobe out for me doesn't make a lot of sense. Those two guys have to be in the mix.
So you heard what he said. Listen, let me get into this here. Let me give you guys my thoughts on this one. When I was discussing the most influential NBA players, I mentioned Jordan. I think I mentioned Curry. And I for damn sure mentioned Allen Iverson. We had produced a show about Allen Iverson years ago. But I didn't mention Kobe, and I'm a Kobe guy. But now that he's bringing up Kobe, listen, what he said about Kobe Bryant, I already knew. But I didn't want to be a homer. Like, he's my favorite player, so I'm just going to say him anyway. No. I thought that there were other players that deserved a lot of credit and maybe more in this particular instance. But now that we're talking about Kobe, let's talk about Kobe Bryant's impact. I think Kobe's impact, it's just as profound in certain ways as an Allen Iverson. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. AI impacted, basketball in terms of players being able to express themselves, dress the way that they want to dress. AI is the one that brought in cornrows, the tattoos. At the time he did it, it was something that the NBA was against, right? And they even implemented a dress code for it. So Allen Iverson gave a lot of players the freedom and the autonomy to go out there and kind of just express themselves and be themselves, right? So AI definitely had a big impact, but it's beyond that because AI was a fusion of hip hop and basketball and culture, so he had a very, very big impact. And I think he reached out to a certain segment of basketball fans and really was able to capture their imagination also with his play, with the way he played, the way he looked as a player, with the headband, with the arm sleeves, with his crossover. That's AI, right? And you can see, it kind of permeating throughout the league in various pockets. What impact did Kobe Bryant have on basketball? Well, personally, I think that Kobe is the biggest star in terms of NBA star since Michael Jordan. If I'm being honest with you, I think Kobe was the most popular basketball player since Michael Jordan retired, even with, some of the lows that he experienced. Kobe was a global icon. And you saw this when he went to go play overseas. It was incredible. Like, it was incredible. And a lot of the USA players said that. They were like, they thought they were famous until they went overseas with Kobe Bryant. And then they found out. But why was Kobe famous? I think Kobe was famous and impactful for a number of reasons. Number one, because of his play. It's very influential for that. A lot of guys wanted to emulate his game, as you heard Austin Rivers point out. Another thing Kobe was, popular for was his mentality and his approach to his work. Kobe was known as a hard worker, and he, that's where the infamous or infamous, whatever, blackout sessions would come out, where Kobe Bryant was arguably the hardest working NBA player ever, right? And a lot of people learned how to improve their work ethic by being around him. The fact of the matter is LeBron, D. Wade, Carmelo Anthony were all good players when they came into the NBA. But when they got with Kobe during the summer, when they were prepping for the Olympics, they really saw the difference between where they were and where they needed to be, and that was Kobe. He was the bar, and they realized we're nowhere near on the level of this guy in terms of his work ethic. And the moment they got around Kobe, all of their work ethic changed. So Kobe influenced a lot of players to be hard workers. Another aspect, and I think his biggest message, is the Mamba mentality. And this is what I think puts him above all of these guys, with the exception of Jordan. Of course, you have Curry with the way that the game is played, but I'm talking about Kobe for a second. The Mamba mentality is something that you can participate in without being an NBA player. So he was able to affect people beyond sports. He gave people a tool to be able to master themselves in their daily lives, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, an athlete, a teacher, a student, whatever the hell it is, content creator, whatever the hell you are, you can adopt the Mamba mentality. So Kobe Bryant left an enduring legacy, which was the Mamba mentality, and no other player has been able to do that. So there's no way you can't mention him. The reason I didn't bring him up was because I said, no, let me not be a Kobe guy, a Kobe homer, and just mention Kobe. But, and of course his shoes. You see his shoes are very, very popular. A lot of NBA players wear his shoes, including people that play sports, like basketball players in college and other places. So I was very, very happy to hear that ESPN mistakenly allowed somebody to go up there and give a view when they weren't up there just twerking it up and knocking over drinks and slapping each other with honey. So that was very, very refreshing. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.